Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah. We begin our lesson by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we pray that Allah bless this majlis and make it a reason where our sins are forgiven and prayers are answered, inshallah ta'ala. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. So inshallah today we have in our last lesson, and we have completed the chapter on Salatul Istisqa. So continuing from there, we are in the part where the author speaks about Tariq Salah. And the Tariq Salah meaning a person who does not perform the obligatory prayers. What is the ruling? What is the ruling of a person who does not perform obligatory prayers? So this is what the author will speak about. So one volunteer can read. Anyone?
Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. قال المصنف رحمه الله تعالى ونفعنا به وبعلومه في الدارين آمين. فصل في تارك الصلاة: من جحد وجوب المكتوبة كفر أو تركها كسلا أو الوضوء أو الجمعة أو وصلى الظهر فهو مسلم ويجب قتله بالسيف بعد الاستتابة إن لم يتب.
Now the author mentioned about number one, if a person reject the obligation of prayers. If a person reject the obligation, meaning he says that prayer is not compulsory. The 5 time daily prayers is not compulsory. So the author mentioned kafara. He has apostate. Because this obligation is a kind of knowledge that is known by everyone. Kind of knowledge that is known by everyone. What is the meaning? If you ask children, for example, is the 5 time daily prayers compulsory, obligatory, they will understand that yes, it is obligatory. If you ask an ignorant person, is the 5 time daily prayers Muslims are praying obligatory, they will say it is obligatory. So whether you ask a person who is learned or a person who is not learned, or children or women and all this different types of people, they will say that it is compulsory. So meaning this knowledge is known by everyone. This knowledge is known by everyone. So knowledge there are 2 types. One is knowledge that is known by everyone. One is knowledge that is not known by everyone, where it requires ponderance and study. So knowledge that is known by everyone and it is established by evidences that are certain, then rejecting this kind of knowledge is apostasy. Clear, inshallah? Knowledge, how many types of knowledge? We have knowledge that is known by everyone, and knowledge that requires ponderance. So knowledge that is known by everyone and its evidences are certain, by rejecting this type of knowledge, it brings apostasy. This is a principle. But when it comes to knowledge that requires ponderance, rejecting it does not bring a person into apostasy. So an example is the obligation of the 5 time daily prayers. So 5 time daily prayers is known by everyone. It's known by everyone that 5 time daily prayers is compulsory. And the evidences are certain. What is the meaning? In the Quran, Allah mentioned wa aqimus salah. Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ speaks about its obligation. And there is ijma in the ulama. And there is no differences amongst the fuqaha. So he said this knowledge is certain, it's based on yaqeen. The evidences is based on yaqeen. So to reject this kind of obligation brings a person into apostasy. Clear, inshallah? This is what in Sharia we call it ma'lumun fid dini bid darura. Ma'lumun fid dini bid darura. Darura here meaning it is known by everyone. It is known by everyone. So rejecting on the obligation in your prayers, it brings apostasy. But rejecting, for example, rejecting on the sunnah of sujood sahwi does not bring a person to apostasy. Rejecting any that wudu yani is nullified any by the touching any of men and women, does not any brings any person into apostasy, because it's a matter of differences, correct? Not the fuqaha, they differ. So matters any of differences do not bring any person into apostasy. And if we reject, what is any the thing that brings any person to apostasy? When it has reached any a level any of conviction, and it is known any by everyone. It is known any by everyone. Likewise, the obligation of fasting in the month of Ramadan. Likewise, in the prohibition of zina, everyone knows zina is haram. But if a person comes and says zina is halal, what happens? This is apostasy. Clear, inshallah. Riba ini is haram. Everybody knows any riba is haram. But the moment any person says riba is halal, what happens? Yani it brings any to apostasy. Likewise, sodomy. It brings any person into apostasy. If he says sodomy is halal, this is a matter of aqidah. This is not a matter of fiqh. Clear, inshallah. Because rejecting something that is based on clear proofs and from the Quran and the Sunnah, and based on dalil that is yaqeen, and is something that is known by everyone, this brings a person into apostasy. So now the author is differentiating between a person who rejects the obligation of prayers and a person who does not pray. Two different things. A person who rejects the obligation of prayers and is not a Muslim, kafara. This is what he said. But what about a person who does not perform prayers? Kasalan. Kasalan any meaning? Lazy. Why? We ask him, why don't you pray? Because I'm lazy. I do not want to pray because I am lazy. But is prayer any obligatory? Yes, any prayer is obligatory. So we say this is fasiq. This is fasiq. Although in another Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, he said that this is also kufr. Kasalan is also kufr. Because of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, Man taraka salata muta'ammidan faqad kafara jihara. Hadith and he mentioned, Man taraka salata muta'ammidan. Muta'ammidan meaning purposely, intentionally. He doesn't pray. Faqad kafara jihara. Yani he has done an act of kufr. Al-Imam Shafi mentioned this kufr ni'mah. Kufr, and there's kufr ni'mah and kufr in the meaning of apostasy. So this difference between Imam Ahmad and Imam Shafi with regard to a person who does not perform any prayers lazy. أو ترك الوضوء أو الجمعة وصلى الظهر فهو مسلم. Yani if a person does not perform any prayers kasalan, or he does not perform any prayer, he does not perform any ablution, or he does not perform the Jumu'ah prayers, but he pray the Zuhur prayers, he is still considered to be a Muslim. Yani meaning, whether he prays or he does not pray, whether he takes ablution or he does not take ablution, but he says the prayers is obligatory. فهو Muslim, that he is a Muslim. ويجب قتله بصلاة واحدة بشرط إخراجها عن وقت الضرورة. ويجب قتله. The punishment for a person who does not perform any prayer is al-qatl. This is in the madhab of Al-Imam Shafi. Al-qatl meaning killing, death and sentence. If a person he does not perform any prayer and he is lazy, with the condition that he does not perform any prayer until the time of darura. What is the meaning? For example, we have Zohor and Asr. He does not perform Zohor prayers. Now is the time of Asr prayers. This punishment cannot be done until when? Until the sunset. Why? Because there is a possibility that he makes the intention of combining prayers, Jama' of Zohor and Asr. So due to that, the punishment cannot be done until sunset. The punishment for not performing the Zohar prayers, when is applied? Is applied it is applied during sunset. After sunset, then it is permissible for the imam, for the ruler, to go forth with the punishment. But our ulama mentioned it is a sunnah before he is punished to do istitaba. to do any istitaba. What is the meaning of istitaba? Al-istitaba meaning we tell him to make tawbah. We do da'wah. And if this person and he doesn't want to pray, and if before killing him, before any the punishment and is done upon him, we tell him any about the virtues of prayers. We tell him any about the consequences. We tell him any to make tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to perform any prayers. If he performs any prayers, then cannot any kill him. So this istitaba is a sunnah. Is it wajib istitaba? No, it's not wajib. It's not any wajib any upon the ruler to do istitaba. What is the meaning of istitaba? Clear inshallah. Istitaba meaning talabu tawbah. This is fi'l sudasi. Istaf'ala yastaf'ilu istif'alan. Talabul fi'l. Istitaba meaning talabu tawbah. Asking him to make any tawbah. The prevailing judgment in our madhab that it is a sunnah. Istitaba is a sunnah. ويجب قتله بصلاة واحدة بشرط إخراجه عن وقت ضرورة وإذا خرج الوقت ضرب عنقه بالسيف بعد الاستتابة إن لم يتب. The killing is done after istitaba. But again istitaba here is mandub, sunnah, not any compulsory. If the ruler kills him without istitaba, it is valid. Unless if he makes tawbah and he perform the prayers. But wallahu alam, normally if a person is caught like that, he will perform any prayers. I don't think any sane person who will sacrifice in his life for not praying. Because if a person tells him, if you don't pray, death and the punishment, do you think he will pray? Even if a person dislike any prayer, but the fact that he knows that he can be saved from the punishment, he will pray. And in our Islamic history, it is not known whether is there such person that is killed for not praying. Wallahu alam. Until now, I do not know. In our history, is there anyone who is punished for not praying? Because it is very difficult. Very difficult to punish. Because the moment people are caught, they will pray. Correct or not? If we say that the punishment of not praying is death, people will pray. Unless we got no desire to live. If a person got no desire to live, khalas, and you kill me. Because anyway, I'm going to commit suicide. For example. Maybe. But normally that is not the case. Istitaba. Our ulama speak about the importance of istitaba. Because it is better for him to make tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than to die as a fasik. So da'wah is important. And this is the punishment for not performing the prayers. But if a person says that prayer is not obligatory, now that is a different punishment. That is a punishment of ridda. The punishment of apostasy. And the punishment of apostasy is also death, unless he make tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that also normally people will not want to sacrifice their lives. You see, nowadays people can post that they have apostate and all these things. Why they can do so? Because there is no punishment. But imagine if you live in a Islamic country by the Islamic laws, you won't find anyone will have the guts to say openly that he is an apostate, because this is a death sentence. Correct or not? So the punishment in Islam, we have to understand, it is more of a what is the word? What is the word in English we say? Deterrence. Yes. The wisdom behind these heavy punishments in Islam, it is for deterrence. It is for deterrence. Likewise, the punishment for zina. The punishment for zina, 100 slashes for a person who has not married, and death for a person who has married. Why in Islam put such heavy punishment? So that people are deterred. Because normally people are afraid of the punishments than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Before a criminal wants to do a crime, he will find out first what is the punishment, and if I get caught, what is the consequences. If he looks at consequences, no problem, and enter prison for 2 years. Don't mind, enter prison for 2 years, and everything is free now. Just be patient, and for 2 years you can come out. So people don't mind. Some people don't mind because they have some problems. But if the punishment is heavy, people will deter themselves from committing the crime. So this is part of the wisdom. When we study on the punishments in Islam, it is to protect the society. Islam gives a heavy punishment on stealing. The hand is cut off. So people won't steal. People won't steal because they are afraid. Especially nowadays with all the CCTV. If what you call it, easily people can be caught, correct or not? Thumbprint, DNA. If the law of Islam is applied, people will not have any dare to steal. People will not have the dare to steal because they know if I get caught, khalas, my hand will be cut. So it becomes a deterrent for him to steal. In this case, you protect the society. You protect the society from crimes. Likewise, fornication and adultery. Now it becomes rampant. In some societies, they cannot control anymore. In the States, for example, they cannot control. Girls, when they reach puberty, they will a lot of them will engage in sexual intercourse. They engage in sex. The earliest 13 years old, 14 years old, and 15 years old, girlfriend and boyfriend. Before they get married, at least they do a survey in America. At least any day, a normal American girl and you have 7 partners before they settle down. So this is the situation. And if you don't have severe laws, then these things will happen. And people will prevent themselves from getting married. Because why? They have a way out. You need to have girlfriend and boyfriends and to appease their sexual desire. Now, so this is some of the things that we have to understand when we study fiqh. Because nowadays, especially the West attacking Islam on this punishment, saying that they're barbaric and so on and so forth. But as a Muslim, we have to learn. This is shubha. So we have to understand the wisdom behind those rulings. To protect the society, to protect progeny, so that any human beings can live safely. Safely in a peaceful environment. Now, continue.
باب الجنائز يستحب ذكر الموت بقلبه والإكثار منه والاستعداد له بالتوبة والمريض أولى ويسن عيادة المسلم المريض حتى الأرمل والعدو والجار والكافر إن كان جارا أو قريبا غبا ويخفف ويدعو له بالعافية إن احتملت حياته.
Now, the author already mentioned Babul Janais. Janais is the plural of jenazah. And jenazah is a name for the deceased. Janazah is the name that is meant for the deceased that is in the coffin. So when we say janazah, what is the meaning of janazah? Janazah is the deceased that is in the coffin. So when we look at the coffin passing by, we say this is janazah. This is janazah. We are referring to the deceased in the coffin. Clear, inshallah. Janais is the plural of janazah. So here the author used jama. To tell us that there are many rulings that are related to the deceased. When it comes to bathing, when it comes to prayers and burial. The first thing he mentioned, yustahabbu zikrul maut biqalbihi. So our ulama they use this opportunity to speak about the importance of remembering death. Our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in many hadiths he mentioned aksiru bi zikri hadimil ladhat. The Prophet he mentioned always remember hadimil ladhat. The thing that breaks what you call it, al-ladhat, the things that is appealing, pleasures, yes. Because you see, when we remember death, what happens? Even if a person is a millionaire, for example, he look at his house, he look at his wealth and everything that he possesses, but the moment he remember death, what happens? Then he will begin to understand that I will leave everything that I have worked for. I cannot bring my house to the grave. I cannot bring my money to the grave. I cannot bring my wife to the grave. I cannot bring my children into the grave. When I think of death, I think of that I will be placed in the ground alone, and nobody will come together with me. So it is a feeling that breaks the pleasures, the human pleasures. So the Prophet ﷺ encouraged us to remember death, because death is a reality, and the Prophet taught us the preparation for death, because life in this dunya is temporal. And life any after death any is the one that counts, because that is any the time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reckon human beings, whether they are successful or not successful. So life any in this world, it is a test any from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and time any is our capital. That's what Imam Ghazali mentioned in Bidayatul Hidayah. What did he say? He said, Waqtuka ra'sul mal. Your time any is your capital. Your capital, any meaning how are you able any to use any this capital to attain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? 60 years, 70 years, 50 years, 40 years. This is any our capital. Just like a person wants to do business, he has 40,000. So he has to think carefully, correct or not, what to spend, 40,000. He cannot spend on things any that is not important. So he must be tactful any in his spending. He must plan properly. Nowadays, human beings any usually when it comes to money, mashallah, they're planning amazing, correct or not? They have financial planning and future planning, planning for 20 years, 30 years ahead, 40 years ahead, retirement planning, what to invest and what not to invest. And now people talking any about what? People talking any about what income, passive income and all these things, and how to prepare for retirement. So you have any this scheme and all this planning and so on and so forth. But Islam taught us that there is any life any after death. That is more important than for planning. And al-kayyisu man dana nafsa wa amila lima ba'da al-maut. A person who is intelligent and is a person who thinks any about death, the Prophet said. And he planned any for what is to come after death, because that is any the reality. So our age any is a capital. How are we going to use the time that Allah gave us to attain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So that is why it is important for us to remember death, and the Prophet ﷺ recommend us to visit the graves, so that it becomes i'tibar. It becomes a lesson for us that our friend who are with us just passed away, for example. We every day we hear the news of people passing away, young people pass away without any reason. So we have friends anywhere pass away, we have people who are younger than us who have passed away. So it is not impossible, maybe tomorrow when we pass away. Who knows? So when we ponder upon the situation, then we come to realize that we can return to Allah at any time. But are we ready or not ready? That is why this is important. I need to ponder upon death. And what if death comes before we expected the death to come? So the author begins by saying, Yustahabbu dhikrul maut biqalbihi, with his heart. Wal iksaru minhu, and to remember death a lot. People who are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they always remember death. They remember Allah by the breath. They remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the breath, because every breath is a sign. The moment number of breaths, certain number of breaths comes, we will return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wal isti'dadu lahu bitawbah, and to have preparation by making tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Making tawbah is a very important pillar in tasawwuf. Tajdeedu tawbah is what Sheikh Ahmad Dardir in his Kharida. What did he say? He said, Wajaddidi tawbata lil awzari. Wajaddidi tawbata lil awzari. Always do tajdeed. Tajdeed of tawbah. We are in need to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for tawbatun nasuh every day. Because we are constantly committing ma'siyah. Sometimes we commit ma'siyah with our thoughts. Sometimes we commit ma'siyah with our tongue. Sometimes we commit ma'siyah with our eyes, with our ears. So we are committing any sins. We are in need of making tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wal maridu awla, a person who is sick, it is we say this is what you call it, befitting for him to remember death. If you say a healthy person, recommended for a healthy person to remember, young person to remember death, what about a person who is in a sick bed? So if a person is on the sick bed, it is important for him to have rida more than khawf. It is important for him to be pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more than fear. But for healthy people, it is better to have fear more than pleasure, more than rida. As what Sheikh Ahmad Dardi also mentioned, وَغَلِّبِ الْخَوْفَ عَلَى رَجَائِ. وَغَلِّبِ الْخَوْفَ عَلَى رَجَائِ. Always in fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over hope in Allah. Sorry, it's not pleasure, hope. Always any have fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over the hope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Except any at the time any of sickness. At the time of sickness, the opposite. Have any hope more than fear. وَيُسَنُّ عِيَادَةُ الْمَرِيدِ الْمُسْلِمِ حَتَّى الْأَرْمَدِ. Yani, it is a sunnah, yani, to visit any the sick. To visit any the sick, and it's a sunnah. Our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam visit any the sick. Even non-Muslim also he visit. There is a case anywhere he visit the Jew, the famous in his story. That he visited any the Jew and he told him to enter Islam before his death, on his deathbed. And he was a young boy, and the boy looked at the father. The father said, "Ati' Abul Qasim." The father told the child, "Obey Abul Qasim." And our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah." But today this is like a dead sunnah. Normally, we don't tell non-Muslim on their deathbed to recite the kalima shahada. But this is a sunnah. This is a sunnah. And if we have friends any non-Muslim, if they are going about to die, we tell them to recite the kalima shahada. Who knows? There are people out there, for example, they know about Islam, they want to enter Islam, but they have doubt. But the moment they want to pass away, this is the time to do da'wah actually. We say this is the time, you still have time. If you recite this kalima shahada, you will be safe in this life and the hereafter. So if you recite the kalima shahada, mashallah, that is bonus. We will get his sawab. Because the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, لِأَنْ يَهْدِيَكَ اللَّهُ رَجُلًا وَاحِدًا خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنْ حُمْرِ النَّعَمِ. For you need to guide any one person, and it's better than camels. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with tawfiq. Hatta al-arman. Arman is a person who is suffering from cataract. In English we call it cataract. Why the author mentioned even the person who is have cataract? Because sometimes this disease is contagious. Sometimes this kind of disease is contagious. And in that situation, of course, we take precaution, but still it is a sunnah to visit the sick, even though they are suffering from this kind of disease. Wal adu, to visit the enemy. Why is sunnah to visit the enemy? Because this is the prophetic akhlaq. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, will visit even his enemy. And so many of his enemies enter into the fold of Islam because of his akhlaq. But of course this is difficult, this is tough, to visit our enemies. So this is a form of da'wah. A form of da'wah. That's why in the Quran Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, idfa' billati hiya ahsan fa'idha alladhi baynaka wa baynahu adawatun ka'annahu waliyyun hamim. Idfa' billati hiya ahsan. This is a prophetic akhlaq. Idfa' billati hiya ahsan, meaning what you call it, we perform, we repel the word is repel. We repel evil with goodness. Repel any evil with goodness, and it's a prophetic akhlaq. But Allah mentioned, وَمَا يُلَقَّاهَا إِلَّا ذُو حَظٍ عَظِيمٍ. Nobody can do this, Allah said, except that He's giving tawfiq from Allah, because it's tough. It's not easy. Easy to say. Easy to say, but difficult to practice. There are a lot of things in Islam easy to say. We can talk until Fajr, but to practice, Allahu Alam. And we pray that Allah bless us and give tawfiq. Wal jar, it is also sunnah to visit al jar. Al jar here meaning neighbor, whether Muslim or non-Muslim. Wal kafir in kana jaran aw qariban ribban. It is a sunnah also to visit the non-Muslim, al-kafir. Nowadays, people are saying, oh, Muslims do not like non-Muslims. That's not true. Our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he make dua for non-Muslims, our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam visit non-Muslims, correct not? He has neighbors who are non-Muslim, he has relatives who are non-Muslims. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he visit Abu Jahl. And he visit. Abu Jahl, and he always trying his best to deter people from Islam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he visit Abu Jahl, tell him to enter into the fold of Islam. So every day Abu Jahl will come to him and say, Ya Muhammad, is there any news from the sky? This is Abu Jahl, the way of Abu Jahl. So he wants to criticize the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ala kulli hal. Wal kafir in kana jaran aw qariban. Whether the kafir is a neighbor or a relative. Sunnah to visit them. This prophetic akhlaq. So that one of the things I need to make da'wah to them, even though we don't speak about Islam. But some people, they look at this character, they know that this is the true religion. Because the character of the Prophet ﷺ is nur, is guidance. So when people see the akhlaq of the Prophet ﷺ, this is the thing that make people want to enter into the fold of Islam. That is why we find, for example, the Muslims, many people in Indonesia enter the fold of Islam by the akhlaq of the ulama. They enter into the fold of Islam because when they look at the ulama, they see something else. They see something special. They see the akhlaq of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They enter into the fold of Islam. And we look at our history, and this happens a lot, even especially during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Many Arabs enter into the fold of Islam because of the akhlaq of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then he mentioned ribban. Ribban meaning occasionally. Why? It is not a sunnah to visit every day. It is not a sunnah to visit every day. Why? Because visiting every day will bring will lead to what? People become bored after some time. So when it comes into visiting, it is sunnah to visit occasionally, because when you visit people occasionally, the love will increase. Imagine you have not seen your friend for 4 months. Suddenly you see him. It's different than you see him every day. If you see him every day, normal. Correct, no? But after 4 months and you don't see him, and suddenly you see him, this will increase affection and love. So this is the sunnah. There is a saying in Arabic, Zu ribban tasdar hubban. Zu ribban tasdar hubban. Yani visit occasionally, it will increase in hub, in love. Wa yukhaffif. When we do visiting, takhfif, meaning do not sit too long until people becomes people do not feel pleased. We sit for 2 hours, 3 hours. So when it comes into visiting it is a sunnah to make it short. Yukhaffif. Wa yad'u lahu bil afiyah in ihtamalat hayatuhu. And to make dua bil afiyah. When we sick the sick especially, we make dua for him. We make dua. Allahumma a'tihi al-afwa wal-afiyah wal-mu'afat ad-da'ima. We make any dua that Allah bless him with afiyah, bless him with health. And this is important. Some people they visit and they sick and they only talk about dunya. Then okay, assalamu alaikum, go back. No dua. The sick they requires any dua. Either we ask any dua from the sick and we do ameen, or we ourselves make dua we make dua for the sick. In ihtamalat hayatuhu. If there is a possibility of their life, meaning we see this person not in the sick bed, there is a high possibility that he will be alive again. He is sick, so we make dua for him. But if he is in a situation that death is coming at any time, then it is important to advise him to make tawbah, because this is the time. This is the time that the angel of death can come at any time. So it is important to remind him and he make tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if he make tawbah at that particular time, tawbah nasuh, all his sins will be forgiven. All his sins will be forgiven. So making tawbah at this point of time is very, very crucial. But sometimes people forget, because of the overwhelming sickness that they are suffering. So they might tend to forget and need to make tawbah. So we remind them and need to make tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also to remind them about wasiyah. Wasiyah is important. When they pass away, what is their will? The will for the children, for example, to advise the children to make taqwa to Allah, and to observe their prayers, and to observe iman and remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if he wants to give any part of the wealth to charity, then he write the will, so that the inheritors they know. So the will is important. Sometimes the will is wajib. If a person has loan that he has not paid, so he remind the inheritors, I borrowed money from Fulan bin Fulan. If I pass away, you must pay him back. All these things is wajib, because otherwise the children do not know. They do not know. So wasiyah can become wajib, and wasiyah is sunnah, and it can become wajib if without doing wasiyah, obligations are not fulfilled. Wa tahsinu dhannihi billahi ta'ala, and to have husnul dhann. This is any very important, to have any good intention to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to have hope in Allah, that Allah will forgive, that Allah will bless him with goodness. وَيُحْسِنُ الْمَرِيضُ ظَنَّهُ بِاللَّهِ ta'ala. Likewise, the author mentioned, the sick person also sunnah to have husnul dhan, to have any husnul dhan to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is the meaning of husnul dhan? Yani, to be pleased with the ordainment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That everything happens and Allah make it happen. My sickness, my life, my death, everything has been specified by Allah. We pray that Allah bless us with afiyah and patience when calamity comes. Because one day all of us we will face death. And death is not something that is easy. Sakarat. Our Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned death is what? Sakarat. Sakarat meaning it makes you intoxicated and in pain. Intoxicated and in pain. So it is not any easy phase to go through. The human beings face any difficulty. And in this difficulty we are in need of iman to face these trials. The trials of sakarat. So we are in need to have husnul dhan to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All these things we need to understand. To have husnul dhan. And do not be angry over the ordainment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Allah is testing us. And this is the peak of the test. So we cannot fail in this phase. So we have always have to remind ourselves whatever the situation is, we have to observe patience. And above any patience is to be pleased. To be pleased with the ordainment, qada and qadar. That all these things takes place by the ordainment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيُحْسِنُ الْمَرِيضُ ظَنَّهُ بِاللَّهِ وَتُكْرَهُ لَهُ الشَّكْوَى. Makruh for him to complain. You know what, my this and this and this and this. To have to complain about his situation. This is makruh. It is better not to do so, because out of the fear that we might not be happy with the ordainment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That we might not be happy with the ordainment of Allah, and this is dangerous. Because it can lead to kufr. So that is why we avoid making shakwa. Shakwa is complaints. وَتُكْرَ لَهُ الشَّكْوَى وَتَمَنِّ الْمَوْتِ بِلَا خَوْفِ فِتْنَةٍ فِي الدِّينِ. It is also makruh to ask for death. A person make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by saying, for example, oh Allah, make me die soon. I don't want to live in this world anymore. This is makruh. Unless if he is in a state of fitna, meaning he is afraid that he might apostate. Because people are forcing him to apostate, for example. He said that if I live, I might live in my religion. Oh Allah, if that is the case, please take my life, that is better for me. So the way we make dua is like this. Oh Allah, make me live as long as life is better for me, and make me die as long as death is better for me. Clear, inshallah? So we put the condition into the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah knows best. Allah knows best whether life is better for us or death is better for us. وَإِكْرَاهُ عَلَى تَنَاوُلِ الدَّوَاءِ. It's also makruh to force the sick to eat medicine. Because you will make him busy with all these things, and he forget all the important things that he needs to have. To have any good intention to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now continue.
وَإِذَا حَضَرَهُ الْمَوْتُ أُلْقِيَ عَلَى شِقِّهِ الْأَيْمَنِ.
Now the author mentioned وَإِذَا حَضَرَ الْمَوْتِ. Now death takes place. So the first thing the author mentioned, أُلْقِيَ عَلَى شَقِّهِ الْأَيْمَنِ. أُلْقِيَ عَلَى شَقِّهِ الْأَيْمَنِ. Meaning we turn his body to the right side. فَإِنْ تَعَذَّرَ فَالْأَيْسَرُ وَإِلَّا فَعَلَى قَفَاهُ وَوَجْهُهُ وَأُخْمُصَاهُ لِلْقِبْلَةِ وَيُرْفَعُ رَأْسُهُ بِشَيْءٍ. So if a person pass away, we slant the body to the right or to the left. The third situation, or we put him on his back, and we put something underneath his head, and the feet facing the qibla. So normally this is the position that we put. This is the position that we put. So this is the first thing the author mentioned. Now, this is the author speaking about sakarat. Hadar al-maut here, sakarat al-maut. Sakarat al-maut. So when he is in a state of sakarat, then we do this. Either we bring his body to the right or to the left, or he he lie down and on his back, and then we do the talqeen, la ilaha illallah. Why any talqeen la ilaha illallah? Because the Prophet when he mentioned laqinu mautakum la ilaha illallah, do talqeen. So we recite la ilaha illallah, yani at near to the ears, and when we recite la ilaha illallah, do not hiss, slowly, because he is in a state of difficulty. So it is a sunnah for us to do talqeen. And once he recite the kalima la ilaha illallah, we stop in the talqeen. But as long as he does not recite, we continue doing the talqeen all the way on his right ear. Wala yulahu alayhi, we cannot force him. We cannot say la ilaha illallah, say la ilaha illallah. Do not do that, because we will make him panic. So it has to do in a wise way. Say la ilaha illallah, then we stop. We stop and we take some time, and then we do it again. La ilaha illallah. So we continue until he or she recite the kalima. Wala yuqalu lahu qul. Do not say qul. Wal afdal talqinu ghayril waris. So the one who is the best to do the talqeen is not the inheritors, because why? There is shubha. It is feared that after death people blame him. It's because of you our father died. It's because of you. So what happens now? He doesn't get the inheritance. So to avoid all these things, it is a sunnah, the one who do the talqeen, not the waratha, not the inheritors. Clear, inshallah? Now continue.
فإذا مات غمض عيناه وشد لحياه بعصابة عريضة.
So this is the part where the author mentioned when death comes. Not earlier. Earlier and it's about sakarat. Afwan, just now I made a mistake. So now when the author mentioned وإذا مات, say فإذا مات, after he passed away, غمض عيناه. Termid meaning to close the eyes. To close the eyes. This is the first thing. تغميد عينيه. وشد لحياه بعصابة عريضة. This is lihya, jaw. So sometimes when the person passes away, the mouth is open. So sunnah for us to close the mouth. If we cannot close, then tie this isaba. Isaba meaning like a bandage. Tie the head so that the mouth is closed. Muhammad, can you read a bit softly? وشد لحياه بعصابة عريضة ولينت مفاصله. مفاصل is the joints. We make sure that the joints are stretched. Because why? When a person passes away, usually if the joint is not any stretch, after some time it becomes rigid, meaning you cannot pull it anymore. So we make sure that the legs are straight. Sometimes when the person passes away, the leg is folded. So we make sure that the legs are straight, the hands for example. Otherwise it can be rigid. So this is the meaning of waluyinat mafasiluhu walau biduhnin. Even if you are in need of ointment, you need to do so. In ihtija ilayhi wa tunza'u thiyabu mautihi. Then it is a sunnah you need to take out the clothes that he passed away in. To take out the clothes that he passed away in, and we put a cloth to cover the body. The cloth like a coffin to cover the body. وَيُسْتَغُ بِثَوْبٍ خَفِيفٍ. And this thawbin khafif, yani it is cloth any that is not thick. Because why? Later we want to bathe him. So we make any the deceased anywhere a cloth any that is thin, so that it is easy any for us any to do the bathing. وَيُوضَعُ عَلَى بَطْنِهِ شَيْءٌ ثَقِيلٌ. We put any something that is heavy on the button here. Because why? Normally when people pass away, their stomach bloat. So to prevent that, and he put something in it that is heavy, ثقيل. Wallahu a'lam bis-sawab. Wa yustaqbalu bil qibla, and face him in the direction of qibla. So we stop here because of time. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.